Welcome out to training camp at Gillette. Courtney Cox here with Zach Cox, and it's time to talk about this week, a big week for the Patriots, their first preseason game. Usually we see another team out here with them. Joint practices usually happen at this time, not this year.
Yeah, this is actually the first time since 2011, which was the lockout season, that the Patriots have not brought at least one team here for joint practice or gone to another team's joint practice, which really kind of throws the whole schedule for a loop. I think you've seen a much more methodical approach to training camp this year from the Patriots. It hasn't been nearly as intense and fiery as it has in the past. And Bill Belichick addressed that this morning. He was asked what the main difference is, whether it kind of affects how the team installs their offensive and defensive game plans. And he said, absolutely, 100%. That's the biggest difference that there really is this year without a team coming in here. Patriots can focus a little bit more on themselves, on taking the time to put in these new plays, these new packages, especially with so many new players coming in. And then they're going to have to rely on those 4 preseason games to actually kind of test themselves against other teams.
It was interesting to hear Bill Belichick talk about that before practice, because usually he gives kind of his same answer, monotone. When he was asked that question, he responded pretty greatly for everybody getting sound bites from him. He seemed excited about not having another team here to kind of worry about, to just focus on his own.
He definitely perked up. He said I'm not saying it's a good thing, not saying it's a bad thing, but it's certainly different, and they have had to kind of adjust their schedule to account for that. What I'm looking to or interested in seeing is how this change in schedule will actually affect how they approach these preseason games, because typically, especially with this first preseason game, you usually don't see many starters at all. Even with the first 2 the last couple of years, it's been mostly backups, mostly kind of guys fighting for that roster, fighting for those roster spots. This year, because they don't have those joint practices that really kind of elevate the intensity level out here on the practice field, will you see more of Tom Brady? Will you see more of some of these starting caliber players out here in the preseason games? We're going to find that out Thursday night.
Well, Rob Gronkowski was asked if he expects to play on Thursday. Kind of a crazy question to ask him. He said he's always ready to play. We won't see him out there.
I would be very surprised if we see Rob Gronkowski in any of these preseason games. It tends to be their MO in the preseason. No Gronkowski on the field at all, which makes sense given his injury history. But I mean, you never know if you'll see guys like Tom Brady. You'll see some of those maybe Julian Edelman, especially with his suspension coming. So it'll definitely be something worth monitoring as they go into Thursday night.
All right. Well, great stuff from Zach. As always, you can follow along with him on Twitter at Zach Cox Nesson or myself at Cox Courtney. Keep it locked in, Nesson.com. We have all your coverage at training camp and during these preseason games.